parameterized graph. You never pass the values from the generic graphs directly. You will pass through parameters. All the parameters you can see in the file. The file is called as parameter set file. In short, we will call this as pset file. Psets will be saved in the pset directory in the sandbox. Okay, so to create the pset, so whenever the you pass the parameter names for the components and you declare the parameter set parameter editor, and you click on run button, you can see the input values editor like this. Here you can pass the values, go to file menu, click on save as. Okay, save in the sandbox pset folder some file name .pset, like the edit the values a number of times and save the psets. Okay, so you can run the pset. So from the GDE, when you open the pset from the sandbox view, it will automatically run the graph, and when you call the pset from the backend also, it will open the graph. So yesterday I was talking about the running the psets, right? So to run the psets, we have the Is sandbox run command I told, right? Is sandbox run command is there. So the in a sandbox run command, you can call the pset name. Multiple psets also you can run at a time. Okay, using ampersand. When you use the ampersand, the current running process will be pushed into background. You can run one more pset or one more process. That's why you can use a sandbox run pset name ampersand, a sandbox run pset name ampersand. Like that you can run the number of presets. Okay, so now this is a very old way actually. In the earlier days, we used to create a wrapper script or any script. There you can call the multiple presets one by one. But nowadays we are given with the new tool called Conduct It from Abinitio Corporation. Okay, so Conduct It is not available in this version. Even in the new versions also, you have to buy the separate. You have to pay separately for Conduct It. You need the separate license for Conduct It. Your Abinitio GDE license won't work for the Conduct It. Okay, so now I'll show you how the Conduct It will be. You can find out the big documentation for Conduct It as well in help file, but that is not required. You need not stretch more for Conduct It. It's very simple concept. So I'll show you what is Conduct It here. So basically your Conduct It is a kind of framework. Okay, you can design a framework with the help of the existing task in the component, sorry, in the Conduct It. So like how you are given with the component organizer in the GDE to design the graphs, the same way in the same GDE only you will be given with the component, like component organizer you can see plan organizer. Okay, because this is a plan, actually plan in the sense I want to run multiple psets or multiple graphs as a education plan, right? So I want to design a plan. Based on the plan, the graphs or psets will be running with the dependency. Okay, so I can say a plan is the framework which calls n number of psets or n number of graphs from your GDE, right? So now how to design the plan? Okay, how to create the plan, right? So this is very simple, like your graph only. Okay, this is like your graph only. So you can see a separate topic for Conduct It. You can see, yeah, you can see Conduct It here, right? In the contents, if you want to go through the Conduct It in detail, you can go through by referring this document. Okay, so you can see like what is Conduct It, right? Background concepts, you can see. Okay, the definition and all. Definition is not much important for us, so I'll show you what is the plan. So here you can see a plan. This is called a plan. It looks like a graph only, right? So here you can see one task. This is called graph task. You can see like demographics graph, right? So they renamed the task to demographics graph. This is the graph task actually. Okay, so like how you are able to create the graphs from the GDE, the same way from the GDE only. When you go to file menu, click on new option, in the latest version you can see two options here. The first one is create new graph, second one is new plan. Okay, new plan you can see. When you create the new graph, you can see component organizer at right side. When you click on the new plan option, you don't see component organizer here. Instead, you will see the plan organizer. Okay, so your plan organizer contain the task. I'll show you all the tasks here. I'll come back to this plan. Right. So you can see all the symbols here, right? So this is called plan organizer. Like how you are able to see the symbols here, in the same way you can see the symbols in the plan organizer in the right side. Okay, so here you can see multiple plans, right? So multiple task actually. So each thing we will call as a task here. In the graph you will call each symbol as the component, right? Here we will call each symbol as the task, plan task we will call as. Okay, first one you can see graph task symbol here, right? Here you don't see much parameters actually. So when you click on the graph task, like how you are able to drag and drop the components onto the canvas, in the same way you can drag and drop the graph task, okay, onto your canvas. You need not worry about this actually. And even in the interview point of view also, like you can say like I am aware of the plans, but we are not working on the plans because we don't have a license for the plans. Not an issue. So doesn't mean all the projects should go with the plans. That is up to their choice actually. If they don't want to spend much on Abinitio, what they will do is they will use some kind of scheduling tools. They don't go for the plan it also. Okay, or connect it also. They will use some scheduling tools, or they will use some wrapper scripts or any scripting. Okay, from there they will call the graphs or pieces. This is not much important. If you place in profile like you worked on the connect it, then only you will get the questions. Otherwise you don't get the questions and connect it. Okay, so like graph task, you can see the symbol, right? So these symbols you can drag and drop onto your canvas. Okay, so when you open this graph task properties, like how you are able to open the component properties, in the same way when you open the graph task properties, it will you have to provide the your graph name to be called from this graph task. Okay, so let us suppose I will show you here. So let us suppose this is plan organizer. I am going to create new plan here. Okay, assume I am calling a graph task, right? So you can see the task, only task, not folders like this. Only task you can see one by one in the conduct it plan organizer. Okay, so just assume this is my graph task. Yeah, you don't see this kind of ports. You will see only buttons. Okay, so you can see. Okay, so you can see some buttons here. You are able to see the like this black buttons, right? So this will act as the ports to connect actually. Like how you have the ports for the component, you can see connection points for the task. You can see the connection point here. This is called connection point. Okay, so when you open this one, so let us assume this is the connection point. This is the plan organizer. Okay, so now you don't see this kind of ports. Let us suppose this is the connection point for me. So here I have to provide the in the parameters I have to provide the graph name actually. So how I can provide the graph name is dollar a underscore graph slash dollar a graph means this will point your sandbox graph path, this parameter. Okay, so you have the not graph, wrong, sorry, a underscore mp. Okay, so a underscore mp. So you have mp folder, you have bin folder, you have xfr folder, run folder, and all, right, in the sandbox. So all the folders, all the directories can be accessed by the parameters. Okay, a underscore mp points to your sandbox mp directory. So there you have one graph. Let us suppose I have a graph called sample.mp. So your graph can be called by this. Your graph can be called by this graph task. Okay, so that's it. You do not provide any parameters here. Just call the graph task here and provide the graph name, connect this one to another graph task. You can call n number of graph tasks. Remember, only one graph task, I mean a graph task can call only one graph. A graph task cannot call multiple graphs. That's why if you have some 20 graphs in the project, 20 graphs you can call using 20 graph tasks like this. Okay, you can connect all the tasks one by one, right? You can connect all the tasks one by one like this. Okay, I'm just showing like a plan here. You can call like this. That means you are setting dependency here. Instead of going for the wrapper script or any scripting, you can set the dependency here. Whenever this is successful, go to next task. Whenever this is successful, go to next task. If it is failed here itself, the plan will be aborted. Next task won't be executed. That is called setting dependency. Here data cannot be flowed. Here I am setting dependency between the graph task. So that is what we can see graph task here. If you go back to the diagram, the plan here, see this is first graph task. Okay, here you can call one graph, that is called demographic graph. They are calling one graph here, right? In the same way, this graph task can be used to call the pset as well. This has two purposes. You can either call the graph task or you can call the pset also. Okay, so whenever you are calling the graph, you are able to use the syntax like $ai underscore mp slash graph name.mp. Okay, the same way whenever you are calling the pset, you can see like $a underscore pset slash pset1.pset. 1 minute. sorry, I am back. Yeah, right. Here you can call pset also. I'll show you this nowadays when you meet. Okay, so you can call pset also, right? And now see, either you can call pset or graph, both are fine. Okay, like how you are able to pass the parameter $a underscore mp slash graph name dot mp you are passing here, right? In the same we can call the $ai underscore pset slash pset name dot pset you can pass. For the graph task only you can call either pset or graph. Okay, so another thing is, so sometimes you may have to call the program also. Program in the sense is some unit scripting also. You have a script actually. So your script might be doing some archiving process or unarchiving process or file validation checking, okay, or file movement from one location to another location, anything. So if you are having any script that is doing some operations, if you want to call the script also, you can call from Abinitio plan. Here you can see load transaction program, right? This is called program task actually. So I will show you here. Okay, so this is called program task. This is called program task. Here you can call a program. In the program task, you cannot call a graph. You can call a program here. So your program in the sense you are scripting actually. Your script may be stored in your home directory or in the sandbox bin directory. Your sandbox may also contain some bin directory. Right? Generally, all the unit scripts will be stored in the bin directory. Okay, so you can call the scripts from the bin directory from this program task. Simple thing, open this program task, in the path option use $a underscore bin slash your script name dot ksh. That's it. You can call the program from this program task or you can call the script from this program task. Okay, just these tasks are given to point to the external programs only, your graph or pset and all. Here I am calling a graph, I am calling a program. Both are parallelly, like these both two tasks will be running parallelly. These both two. Okay, so these two will be running parallelly. So once these two are over, the control will move to next graph task. This is called mailing graph task. Okay, one more graph task. Okay, like this you can call the n number of graph tasks. So once these two are over, successfully completed, then only you can move to next graph task. Okay, in the same way, right, I have a recorded session also in the latest version. I will share you that tomorrow or day after tomorrow. I will share that. Okay, no issues. So you can connect these two and you can move to like this one, right? Mailing graph you can move. Okay, this is called graph task. So now in the same way, right, when you connect this one to conditional task, this is conditional task. Okay, condition in the sense I have a condition actually. So based on this graph output I am checking a condition here. Let us suppose if the type equal to like transaction, I want to run this flow, else I want to run this flow. So there are some if else condition. Okay, so those type of if else conditions you can provide with the help of the conditional task. Okay, you can see conditional task like this is called conditional task. Okay, so in the conditional task you can define a condition here, right? So the condition will be evaluated, right? If it is true, okay, then your right side flow will be executed. This will be executed, right side flow. If it is false, the down flow will be executed. So in the expression you can write here, like how you are passing some expression, the filter by expression component. Filter by expression is select expression parameter component. In the same way, you can pass the expression here based on the expression result or based on your if else condition result. Okay, your downstream or your right side stream will be executed. Here they are calling two graphs actually. They are calling one graph here, one another flow here. So both will be executed if it is true. If it is false, the down graph will be executed. You can see one subplan here, right? So create subplan, like how you are able to create subgraphs. Yesterday we discussed how to create subgraph, right? In the same way you can create subplan also. You can highlight the components like you can create a subplan. Okay, so this is the subplan task. A subplan can call another plan actually. Okay, because after this conditional task you can see some plan task here, right? A plan task in the sense, see the design I am showing here, this is called plan, right? This plan can be saved with the extension called .plan in your sandbox directory of plan. Your sandbox may also contains the plan directory. Okay, plan directory or plan folder is used to store the plans actually. This is called plan. This can be saved with the extension .plan actually. Okay, this can be saved with the extension .plan. Right. So dot plan, it can be saved as dot plan, right? So now I have a plan actually. I want to call a plan from another plan. I'm creating a new plan now. So in the new plan, I want to call another plan. Okay, then also you can use the plan task here. So your plan task can be used to call another plan actually. You can provide the path like $a_plan slash plan date dot plan, plan name dot plan. Okay, so this plan can be used to call another plan also. So you have graph task to call the graph, plan task to call the plan, program task to call the script. Okay, subplan in the sense this is a kind of subgraph only. You can call multiple plans in the subplan. Subplan, you can, like you have a plan actually, you can just fold all the plan tasks as a subplan. That is called subplan. Okay, in the same way, this subplan can be also repeatedly run like a for loop or a while loop. You can convert this subplan to for loop also. For loop in the sense, let us suppose I am calling a p set. Let us suppose I am calling a p set for 100 times actually. I have 100 p sets in my project. To call the 100 p sets, as I told you, each p set can be called using one graph task. Okay, to call the 100 p sets, you have to insert the 100 graph task in the canvas. In your plan, you have to insert the 100 plan task, so 100 graph tasks to call the p set. Okay, so this is very difficult to insert 100 p sets, 100 graph tasks to call 100 p. That's why what you can do is you can take a subplan. In the subplan, you can use some kind of command like ls-l star.p set. That means it will display all the pieces right in our project. All the pieces can be executed like a loop actually. Then you have to right click on the subplan, right click on the subplan. So click on the properties, you can make it as loop also. That whenever you get chance to see the plan task, only you can understand this concept. Otherwise this is not required at all. Okay, so this is advanced concept in the plan IT, subplan, looping plan and all. In case when you get chance to see your plans in your project, so you can just very well open the properties of the subplan. Okay, you can use there is one option called for loop actually. When you click on the for loop, you can see this kind of symbol on the subplan. You can see this kind of looping symbol. That means your plan can be repeatedly executed, iteratively executed by calling the n number of pieces. Okay, so all the symbols, right, all this symbol, this symbol, this symbol, all these symbols, I already explained in the recording session. I will share the session with you. There you can see the 3.1 version plan. There I explained everything, what is conditional task, what is this arrow and all. Okay, you can go through the record session, you will get some idea after that. Okay, so this plan IT session is only to give you some idea only, not for interview purpose. In the interview point of view, unless and until you place the conduct it in your profile, you don't get any questions. But in case if you mention I worked on the conduct it, definitely you will get the questions. What is program task, what is conditional task, how to call a program, how to call the graph, this kind of questions they will ask. Okay, so that's why don't mention the profile, since you don't like, you can mention like we are working on 3.0 version but we are not using plans, you can mention. Okay, or you can mention like I am working on 2.14 also, there are no issues. That depends on your client. Okay, you can either work on 2.14 or 3.0 also, unless otherwise if you get confidence that you can explain the content concepts also, you can say I worked on the plans also, no worries in that. Okay, just go through this help file like parallelly when you are attending for interviews, right? So first go through my recording session, this one and the new recording I am going to share you. Okay, tomorrow or day after tomorrow, go through that recording session. Okay, then just go through this help file when you have some time, you will get some idea like what is this plan. So you can see this kind of, this is called plan 1 in your GDE. Okay, so you are calling a graph, my graph here. So like this you can call the graph from this graph. Okay, so you can see this. Okay, you can see here what is task. A task called a actional program, graph task, program task, okay, plan task. This is theory actually. You don't find much knowledge, much information on this. There is nothing to do. Just call the actional program only. You can see all the tasks here. Okay, you can see examples also. So you can go through this one to get the knowledge on conduct it. Okay, otherwise I will show you practically also, no worries in that. Just understand the terminology, what is connected and all. Okay, so now why I am talking about this concept here is to call the multiple pieces from the connected. That is fine. So coming back to our piece concept here. Okay, so coming to parameters, right, as I told yesterday, a parameter can be used to call to pass a string value, to pass a decimal value, integer value and all. You can select the data type here, that is fine. But a parameter can be used to refer another parameter also, okay. A parameter can be used to refer another parameter also. Similarly, a parameter can be used to call the init scripting also, okay, to call some Abinitio language also, like Abinitio string functions, Abinitio code also you can pass to a parameter. I will talk about that now. Okay, so here if you see all the values, I am providing the exact values for all the parameters, right? I am going to talk about. So this is important for working actually. In the interview point of view, this might not be much important, but in the real time, when you are working on the projects, definitely you will face issues on the parameters. Okay, so we are going to discuss about parameter interpretation. Interpretation in the sense how the parameter value will be, how the parameter value will be evaluated. Parameter value will be evaluated. Okay, so now if you see here, I am directly passing the value. There is no concept of evaluation and all. I am directly passing a file path to this parameter. A parameter, I am directly passing a customer ID to this parameter. I mean value I am passing directly. Okay, I am not passing indirectly, right? So this is called passing the constant value for a parameter. This is called constant value, constant value, constant value. Okay, so this is constant value, this is constant value. Forget about these two. I will talk about these two also. This is constant value, right? That's why when you right click on the properties here, when you click on the parameter, not from here, you have to go to edit parameters. Okay, when you click on the parameter, the details, you can see the properties, right? So remember, this properties window in the latest version by default will be open. You need not to click on the details like this. Okay, so the properties of each parameter will be open like this. At the down of this editor, you can see this kind of window like this, exactly like this. Okay, so this was embedded in the editor by default. So when you click on any parameter, when you click on this parameter, you can see this parameter properties. When you click on this parameter, you have to see this properties in one. When you click on group one, group key, you can see group key parameters here. When you click on join XFR, you can see join XFR parameters here. You got it, right? Because you should not get confusion in the latest version. Latest version, when you click on the parameter editor, editor will be open like the same only. In addition to this editor, you can see details also at the bottom of the parameter like this. Okay, you can see the details like this. So here in the details, you can see the scope actually. Scope is formula for each parameter, right? We discussed about scope yesterday. Coming to the interpretation, you can see interpretation for each parameter. For injury, you can see interpretation parameter. In one file also, interpretation parameter. Group key, join XFR. For every parameter, you can see interpretation here, right? So this interpretation property specifies which value you are passing to the parameter and how the value should be interpreted. Okay, right? So how your value should be interpreted, right? That can be passed to interpretation. Okay, So in 0 file you can see here, right? In 0 file you can see interpretation as dollar substitution. When we expand this interpretation option, we can see multiple options here: constant, dollar substitution, dollar curly substitution, shell. You can see everything here. 4 interpretation values you can see. We are going to discuss one by one now. Okay. Forget about this one. I want to talk about group key first. Right. So group key, if you remember, I want to pass the group key as some value like cust ID. Or if you take the output file also, I want to pass a constant value here. I am not referring any other parameter here. I am directly pointing to a constant value. I am directly passing a constant value to the group key parameter. This is called constant value. Okay. So whenever you are providing a constant value for a parameter, you have to select the constant here. Interpretation. That means you are providing the constant value. Okay. You are providing constant value. Right? So because the same group key parameter or any other parameter you are declaring here, right? The parameter you are going to use in the graph actually. You can use this parameter in the graph, in the transformation logic, or in the key parameter, in the file path, wherever you want. You are going to use this parameter, right? So based on the interpretation you are selecting here, the value will be resolved. The value will be resolved in the your component. And one more thing here, so here you cannot see the resolved value by default. Okay, if you want to see the resolved value of AB home, for example, I am referring a parameter here, AB underscore home. Right, in the latest version, when you highlight this value here, in the down of this details, here you can see one more option called resolution. Okay, so you can see the resolved value for this parameter also. How this parameter is getting resolved? Because if you don't have a chance to see the value of this parameter at the time of declaration, in the runtime, in case if the graph fails due to some invalid value, you cannot understand, right? So without displaying the value at the time of declaration of the parameter, you cannot validate the graph. That's why in the latest version you have an option called resolved value. So you need not do anything further. When you place the cursor on here, when you highlight the parameter, you can see the resolved value at the down of the editor. You got it, right? Resolved value we can see. That is by default we can understand. No need to worry about that. Okay. So now here if you want to see, I don't think there is an option to see the resolved value. There is no option here, but there you can see the resolved value. That is fine. I am talking about interpretation now. Interpretation I am passing constant because I am providing constant value. I am not referring any other parameter. This is called constant interpretation. Okay. So the first one is constant interpretation. Okay. So we will pass the constant value for a parameter. Okay. So second one is, here if you see I am referring another parameter. In0 is one parameter, in0 file is one parameter. So to provide the path for in0 file, I am not directly passing a constant value. If you see here, my value is the combination of a parameter and the constant value also. Okay, I am calling another parameter here. You can see dollar here. That means I am calling another parameter. Dollar $AB home contains a path of my Abinitio operating system where Abinitio was installed. That will be shown in the AB home generally. Okay, so it can be any other parameter. So if I am referring a parameter to assign the value to the another parameter, okay, I will use dollar symbol here. Okay, now if you select the constant option here, your value won't be resolved because you are not passing constant value, right? You are not passing constant value here. You are referring a parameter, you are not passing any constant value. You are referring a parameter. So whenever you are referring a parameter, first your value, your compiler should resolve the parameter value, and then the resolved value can be assigned to the actual parameter. Then you have to select the dollar substitution. You can see dollar substitution here. Okay, you can see dollar symbol here. So whenever you are referring a parameter using dollar, you have to select the dollar substitution. Okay, so not only this kind of syntax, sometimes see here for a key or for my output file parameter, I am referring another parameter. For example, my output file is the input file only. I am referring this parameter here, in one file. Okay, so this is actual parameter. For this parameter I am pointing to another parameter. That means the value of in one file will be assigned to the out file. What is the value of in one file? This is in one file. Okay, what is the value of in one file is this is the one. So this value you want assigned to this output file. Then also you can use dollar in one file. So the thing is, whenever you are assigning a parameter value for another parameter, you must use the dollar substitution. Okay, but if you see this kind of syntax here, so this is referring to dollar in one file, and coming to in one file, this is referring to one more parameter again. This is called assigning chain of values, chain of parameter values, or a parameter is calling another parameter internally, like your nested for loop or nested if else condition in the languages. Okay, a value is pointed to another value. This is a kind of chain of assignments. Okay, so the final resolved value should be assigned to this parameter. So now whenever you are calling a chain of parameters one by one like this, you have to use the dollar curly substitution here. Okay, dollar curly substitution, this is called curly brackets, right? Dollar curly substitution. Here also use the syntax like dollar curly, dollar curly, right? That means this is not a single parameter. This is calling another parameter. If you see the in one file here, this is calling another parameter, AB home. That's why I am calling dollar curly. So whenever your AB home can call another parameter also, no issue. Okay, you can call any number of chain of parameters also. You have to go for the dollar curly. So what I can say here is, if you go for dollar curly substitution, this can be this can be interpret the value of constant, dollar substitution, dollar curly. This is universal as of now. Three things we covered, right? So when you go for the dollar curly substitution, so it can resolve the constant value as well as dollar substitution value as well as dollar curly value also. That's why you need not worry about the interpretation. So by default, every parameter dollar curly only. When you see here, you can see dollar curly. Okay, here also you can see dollar curly. For everything you can see dollar curly by default. That's why, so dollar curly has the capability to resolve the constant value as well as dollar substitution value, dollar curly substitution value also. That's why you can remember only this one. You need not worry about the first two. If you want externally, you can select constant, you can select dollar substitution, but dollar curly can display the value of constant as well as dollar substitution as well as dollar curly also. It has three capabilities. Okay, this is fine. Till now you are able to pass a constant value, or you are able to pass a parameter, you are able to refer a chain of parameters. That's fine. But my requirement is, I have a parameter here, for example. Okay, so my parameter name is called some count. Okay, so this is a integer because I want to store the number of records in a file. So I have a file here, right? So this file number of records I want to count out. I want to find out the number of records of this file, and I want to display in the count parameter. I want to assign to count parameter. Okay, so how to find out the number of records of a file? Is there any function in the Abinitio? No, right? So as of our knowledge, as of our course content we covered as of now, we don't have any function that can find out the number of records in a file, because a file is the operating system file. Only your operating system commands has the capability to find out the number of records in the file, not your tools or languages. Okay, so now you have to go for the Unix command. The command is, what is the command? The command is wc -l. Okay, your file name. Where is your file name? Your file name will be stored in a parameter called in1 file. Okay, use in1 file. I want to find out the number of records in the in1 file. Use the dollar here because you are calling a parameter. That's why use the dollar here. So this is Unix command actually. So with the help of this command, I want to find out the number of records of this file. Okay, so this is Unix command, right? So I am calling Unix command here. I am calling Unix command here. Okay, so whenever you are calling Unix command, how your parameter knows whether you are passing a constant value or whether you are calling a parameter, you are referring to a parameter, or whether you are calling Unix command, how your parameter knows. Okay, you have to mention this is not a constant value, this is the shell command. Okay, first execute the shell command and then the resolved value of the command or the output of this command should be assigned to the count parameter. You got it right? So this is how you can also call the shell program, shell scripting, shell command also. Here you can call any number of commands like this, but the output should be assigned to this parameter. Based on our requirement, you can call the script also, you can call the command also. So whatever you want. So how you are working on Linux operating system using the commands, in the same way you can work on this parameter editor. Okay, so you can pass the values here, right? So now in order to mention this is the Unix command, not a constant value, go to your interpretation, expand, select the, sorry, here, right, expand, select shell interpretation. Okay, select shell interpretation, right? So now your parameter understand this is the Unix command, because I am selecting shell here, this is the shell command, this should be executed by the shell and this should be assigned to the this value. But so this is not a single word, this is the couple of words here, right? Entire your Unix command should be enclosed between the single not single quotes, enclosed between the bracket character. You can see a character on the tilde key. You have the tilde key on your keyboard, right? Left to your number one key. Okay, you can see tilde key. So use the tilde key here. Tilde key, I mean the entire command should be enclosed between the tilde key. Not only single command. Let us suppose I am doing some cut operation after this. Cut. I am doing cut -d. Okay. I am cutting the first field. Entire Unix command should be enclosed between the bracket character. That is important. Okay, bracket character, right? So now your parameter understand this is the Unix command. The command should be executed first and then assigned to the parameter name. Got it right? So this is the shell interpretation. Okay. So now I'm just typing here. You can also prepare the notes if you want. Dollar substitution. Okay. To refer another parameter, dollar curly substitution okay, dollar curly substitution okay, to call or to refer a parameter which calls another parameter or chain of parameters. Okay, fourth interpretation is shell interpretation, right? So calls a Unix command. Okay, right? So this is about 4 interpretations in this version. But if you think one more thing here, so here I am able to provide a constant value. Using constant interpretation I am referring a parameter, chain of parameters, I am calling Unix command also. But there are some requirement where I may have to use some Abinitio code also sometimes. Okay, and one more thing, this you should not get doubt here. This count parameter, how you can use in our graph, right? This count parameter you can use in the roll-up component or any other component also. Open your transformations. So transformation I didn't provide it. Let us suppose you have a transformation here in your graph. In the transformation you can assign actually. Okay, so like if you have any field in the output, if you have any field in the output, okay, let us suppose normalize. Okay, so let it open. So that's slow. Now normally you have a field called out dot count, for example. You can use out dot count equal to dollar count. Your dollar count is the parameter calling from the editor. You can use like this. The code can be reused like this parameters. Okay, fifth one I am going to talk now. Fifth one is, so in the editor sometimes what I want to do is like where is editor is, you have a parameter here which is called fname parameter. For I am just giving some example. This is not exact the scenario. Okay, so fname I have some first name or maybe, okay, string value I have l name. This is Murthy. If you have like this, okay, if you want to concatenate these two, I need the full name, one more parameter. So my full name is the concatenation of these two concatenation. So how can you concatenate? You have the string concat function, Abinitio function, right? So you can use the string underscore concat. Okay, so dollar f name is one parameter, comma dollar lm is another parameter. This string concat function, right? So here I am calling Abinitio code. This is the Abinitio DML general. We will call this as Abinitio DML, data manipulation language. Okay, so whenever you are calling Abinitio DML here, the Abinitio DML should be evaluated by your Abinitio cooperating system. That should be executed by your Abinitio cooperating system. The value of this code will be assigned to a parameter. It can be not only string concat, it can be any function, not only string concat. It can be the decimal functions, string functions, or a big complex coding also. Whatever it may be, the code should be evaluated by your Abinitio cooperating system and should be assigned to your parameter. So this cannot be possible in this version. You cannot go for constant value, you cannot go for dollar substitution, you cannot go for this shell also, because this is not shell command. This is Abinitio DML, Abinitio language. Okay, so Abinitio DML can be evaluated by new interpretation called PDL. Okay, so this is very important for interview point of view. The question is, if you can understand the concept, you can play with them. Okay, because the concept is important. So you should not say definition like all other guys. You have to explain the example also. What is PDL first? Okay, PDL stands for parameter definition language, right? So this PDL allows you to pass the Abinitio DML. DML means data manipulation language, or expressions. I mean expressions here. Abinitio expression to a parameter definition, right? Okay. So example, your string concat function. You can, string concat is the Abinitio function. Okay. You can call a parameter 1 here, parameter 1, parameter 2. Okay, you can concatenate, but remember your entire, so like as I told, your entire expression should be included between the string bracket character. Bracket character should be used for the shell interpretation, I told, right? In the same way here also, for Abinitio interpretation, your expression or your Abinitio DML should be included between the square brackets like this. Okay, so you have to use dollar before that, right? This is the syntax. Or another syntax is, you can use dollar square brackets, string underscore, concat. You can remove the dollar here. You need not provide the dollar. Got it, right? Because your dollar will be automatically prefixed to all the parameters whatever you are passing here. Okay, so you can either follow this one or this one. Generally we will follow the second option. We will follow this one. So this is called PDL. Okay, so your PDL will be enclosed between the dollar, sorry, dollar curly interpretation. Okay, so here in the editor you have to use the dollar curly. So this PDL is not available in this version, which is available in the latest version from 2.14 or 2.15. I think this is available, dollar curly substitution. So you have to go to your details. So there you have to select the interpretation PDL. You can see PDL here. PDL you have to select, or you can see dollar curly. I think dollar curly you have to select. PDL only will see. Okay, so PDL interpretation. So remember, whenever you are going for any expressions, you can use PDL. So and one more thing here, even you are not aware of all these four interpretation, you need not worry. Okay, because all these four interpretation can be interpreted by PDL also. Your PDL has the capability to display the constant value, dollar substitution value, dollar curly value, shell value also. That's why your PDL is enough for us. If you can understand the PDL concept, everything can be possible. Your PDL has the capability to display all the values. Okay, but remember, whenever you are passing any command in the PDL, not Abinitio command, not Abinitio code, whenever you are passing any command using PDL interpretation, okay, remember the syntax is different actually. You should not use dollar curly, you have to go for the dollar square brackets. This is for calling any command. You can call wc -l file name, that's it. All in this command should be called from the curly actually. If you want to use PDL for shell, otherwise you can go for shell also, that is your choice. This is some advanced concept from 3.1, I think 3.1 version. Okay, so this is about the interpretation concept. So interpretation is not much important for interview point of view, except your PDL. PDL is important for interview, but in the, to work in the like projects, you know, definitely you should be aware of all this interpretation. Okay, so this is about interpretation of the parameter or properties of the parameter. Okay, so let me know if you have any question. And one more thing, you can see one more. Hello, Dinesh or Srini, any questions?
No, actually.
Confusion, huh?
అలాగే ఉంది. ఫస్ట్ టైం ఇన్ని పారామీటర్స్ అవి చూసేసరికి అలాగే అనిపిస్తుంది కొంచెం.
For questions, no, and for confusion, yes.
Yes. So definitely, until you work on the graph, right, you will face confusion because you don't have chance to work here also, right? So just write some notes.
యాక్చువల్లీ మీరు చెప్తున్నారు కాబట్టి అసలు అంటే చూపిస్తే ఈజీగా అర్థమయ్యేది. జస్ట్ మీరు బెస్ట్
practically we cannot like in this we cannot see all the interpretation. So interpretation, like by default, you know, in the latest version, by default every parameter will be interpreted as a PDL only. So you will, even if you don't touch the parameter name also, your graph will run, because by default every parameter will be interpreted by PDL actually in the latest version. That's why you need not many guys are not aware of this interpretation concept also. They don't concentrate here actually. They don't touch anything in the parameter. They just declare the parameter, pass the value, that's it. They don't bother about these interpretations and all. But in case if you want to select externally, you can select using this concept. Okay, so remember the concept. So anyhow, when you get chance to work on the projects, right, you can just cross check this recording session and you can work practically. Okay, so required, there is one more thing, this is also important, required. Okay, so before talking about this required or optional, if the parameter is required or optional, so I want to show you one thing, so which is like I have this graph here, right? So let us suppose,
Hey, some disturbance is coming, kya?
Srini.
Yeah. I'll turn off my mic.
Okay, okay, fine. So here you can see a graph, right? I am reading two sources here. I am doing join operation. I am doing some roll up activity also in the subgraph. So there are some scenarios where there are some sources out of some n number of sources I am reading here using generic graph. There are some sources, for them I should not apply the roll up operation. Okay, the requirement is I have four sources. Let us suppose four sources, generally I have to go for the four graphs. So instead of going for the four graphs for four sources, I want to, what I want to do is I want to just I want to just read the two files in a source. I want to apply join operation. I don't want to apply the roll up operation. Okay, roll up I don't want to do. Only join I want to do. After join, my output should be directly moved to output file component, but not to roll up component. If you have this kind of requirement, for the special cases, I should not go for the special graph also. Like if there is any components, we should not run for a source, and we should run for only one source. So you cannot create the new graph whenever it is required. If you have to go for the new graph for a simple change also, then there is no need of the generic graph, right? So I should need a facility here. Okay, so I need a facility where I want to disable some of the components in my graph based on my source at runtime. At runtime, in case if the source is some Bangalore file, let us suppose if my source files are getting from Bangalore location, I don't want to apply the roll-up operation. If the source is Bangalore, this should be disabled. If the source is Bangalore, this should be disabled. Okay. In case if the source not equal to Bangalore, this should be enabled. You got the concept, right? So the component I want to make as conditional component. The component I want to make as conditional component. Based on some condition only, this component has to run. Right. So this is called conditional component. I am going to talk about conditional component now. Right. In case if someone asks in the interview, so generally many guys will think like conditional component is a big concept, difficult concept. This is very simple concept actually. So conditional components. Okay. So conditional components option. This is an optional thing actually. Can be used to disable few components or any one component at runtime based on the condition. Okay, so now I will show you practically. So here also this version, this won't support. You have the option but it won't run even if you provide condition also. Okay, so now before providing the condition here, I need a parameter, right? I need some indicator whether my source is Bangalore or not. Here declare one parameter, right? Go to your parameters, edit parameters option. Okay, edit parameters option. So here you can see parameter name called source. Okay, so you have the multiple psets, right? You have four psets. One pset is for one source. I have Chennai source, Pune, Hyderabad, Bangalore, for example. Okay, so this is for Bangalore. Let us assume this. I am opening a pset now. In the pset, I am passing a parameter value which is called Bangalore. You can use small or caps also. Okay, so Bangalore I am passing here. Just for example, I am showing this one. In our projects, it can be something, any indicator like US or UK, okay, or credit or debit, so or sales finance or retail deposits. It can be anything, any indicator. I am providing a source here, for example. Source is the parameter now. If source is Bangalore, right, then only this should be enabled, the component. For the rest of the sources, I don't want to run the graph. I mean the component for the rest of the sources. Okay, then save this preset. Okay, so now you have the this is your base graph, right? Okay, so the roll up component I want to make it as condition. The roll up component I want to make as the conditional component. If you open the properties here, properties of the component, you don't have any option to make it as condition, right? So now to make the components or the conditional components, go to your file menu, click on preferences. I am talking about the preferences in this version only, but in the latest version in our 3.0 version onwards, this preferences option was moved to one more menu called settings. Here you can see another additional menu called settings menu you can see in the latest version. In the settings menu you can find out the preferences. Option is same, but they moved to some other location. Preferences, okay, you can see GD preference. Here you can see conditional component option. Okay, so when you click on the conditional component checkbox, when you click on the conditional component checkbox, right, you can see additional tab for each component. You can see condition tab here. You can see condition tab for the subgraph also. You can see, you know, for subgraph also you can see the condition tab. See, right. So for the this also you can see condition tab. Every component will be enabled with the condition tab. So you can either provide the condition, you can ignore the condition also. That is your choice. That doesn't mean whenever the condition tab is enabled, you must provide the condition tab. You need not provide that. Okay. So now here in the condition option, you have to mention the condition. My condition is, right, my condition is if the parameter called source I have in my preset, if the source equal to Bangalore, then only I want to enable the component. Enable or disable. How can you mention? Enable means true, disable means false. True can be indicated by 1. Okay. Else 0. Right. This simple statement will enable the component or disable the component. So enablement can be possible by using 1 here. 1 means enable the component, run the component. 0 means disable the components. Okay, so this kind of syntax you can use here. So again, you know, when you are going for this kind of syntax, you are checking for the if else condition, right? If else can be executed by your PDL only. Okay, your PDL, since the PDL is not available here, it cannot be executed here. Okay, so you can use this kind of syntax. If source equal to Bangalore 1 else 0, right? So save this one, right? You can see more option here, right? You can see more option for every parameter. See for this one also, you can see more option for key. You can see more option transform. You can see more option here. When you expand the more option, you can see the interpretation. So this is what I told you in the beginning of the sessions. I will discuss about interpretation later. Okay, so like how you have the options in the editor, in the parameter editor, how you have the option for interpreting the values, in the same way in the parameters tab of each component you can see the same interpretation option. You can see all the interpretation values, condition, dollar substitution, dollar curly shell, everything you can see. Because let us suppose I am calling a parameter in this roll up XFR, that parameter is the PDL parameter, then you have to select the PDL here. Okay, in the same way for condition also you have the interpretation here, right, in the more option. So this expression should be evaluated by PDL only. That's why you have to select the PDL here. You have to select PDL here. Okay, so that's fine. So when you provide the expression here, your expression should result in either 0 or non-zero. I mean either 0 or 1. Okay, 1 means run the component, 0 means don't run the component. Okay, so now run or don't run in the sense, so whether there are two options again, whether you want to move the records of this subgraph to this output file directly. I mean replace this roll up component, don't run this roll up component, so connect this flow to this output directly at runtime. This can be taken care of by your compiler at runtime. This is one option. Second option is, if the condition is not occurred, like if the condition is false, disable entire flow here onwards, replace and remove entire flow. Okay, the component where I have written the condition, right? The component where I have written the condition, from there onwards, don't run any component. Just stop the graph there itself. That is second option. Okay, so that can be possible by using this option. You can see condition option here, right? You can see remove completely, replace with flow. When you select remove completely option, okay, so from here onwards, the condition where you wrote the condition, from that component onwards, no component will run. Every component will be disabled. No component will run. Right? Generally, we never go for this option. You should not go also. There is no need of, there is no use of condition. If you go for this option, you know, so you are disabling entire flow. You know, you don't go for this kind of option because you should not disable like this. Okay. The second option will go general, replace with flow option. That means replace the roll up component with the join flow and send the records to output file. Next component. That's why you can see replace with flow from input port. This is input port, right? From input port to output port. This is output port. Into out replace the flow. Into out the flow will be replaced. Okay. So this is about the conditional component. Very simple. But the thing is, whenever you provide the condition here, okay. So this is not mandatory parameter, right? You are referring a parameter here. You are referring a parameter. You are referring a source parameter here. Okay, the source value you can pass, you need not pass, or sometimes your requirement is, so I am declaring a parameter here. The parameter value I will pass from the p set. Okay, but what I want to do is, from some of the pieces I don't want to pass the value. For some of the pieces I want to ignore the value also, because I am not using source in those pieces. I am not using source parameter in all the pieces. In some of the pieces only I am using. Then this parameter is not mandatory parameter, optional parameters. You can pass or you can ignore also. If you want to make the parameter value as optional value, you have to go to your details again, select the required option as optional. You can see two options here. So whether the parameter is required or not. So when you select the required option here, for all the pieces you must provide the value. If you don't provide the value here, your graph won't run. But when you select the optional parameter, optional option here, so passing the value is optional. That is up to you. You can skip or you can pass also. That is your choice. Right? So optional means you can either pass the value or you can ignore the parameter also. But required means you must provide the value. That is about a required option. Okay. So export in the sense, you can see export also here. Like your Unix export only. In the Unix, you know, if you remember, in the Unix commands also, in the scripting also you can use some command called export command. We can use export the variable to the entire script. It's like your increasing the scope of your variables in the Java language, Java code to entire classes or entire program. Same way here also, I want to export this parameter to entire graph. Generally it will be exported by default, but if you want to export externally, I want to use in XFR, graph, plants, wherever I want to use the parameter, right? I want to use this parameter entire my cycle, then you can use the export option. But remember, export can be done only for one graph. One graph parameter cannot be exported to another graph, right? One graph parameter cannot be exported to another graph. Same graph only you can use the parameter. So you can see export option also here. Okay, so this is about the parameters, interpretation, your PDL, okay, and conduct it, and the conditional components. So today we discuss simple concepts only, but the concept is much important. You cannot practice anything in this version. Okay, so like this is about your parameters session actually. Okay, so I know you are in confusion, so definitely everyone will be in confusion only because of these just theoretical session. So try to listen to the recording sessions today again, this session, note down your questions, and tomorrow we'll discuss again. Because if I go to next concept today, which is called I want to discuss about debugging also actually. If you go for debugging also today, definitely you will get confusion again. That's why just listen to the record session, write down your questions. Tomorrow we will discuss about I mean the questions if you have any. And tomorrow I will talk about debugging concept, like what is the freeze, what is checkpoint, what is breakpoint, what was that like intermediate file and watches. I will cover tomorrow, and that is just 15 minutes topic only. Again, I will talk about I will start about what was that Abinitio co-operating system, M commands. Okay, M commands. Just one session for M commands and two sessions for EMA. Okay, any questions you have?
Did you?
Yeah.
No questions.